I just want to give you a full snapshot of what we mean by site supervision, what is the scope of work, what are the roles and responsibilities in particular. So I'll go through the main aspects. This one. Most have been covered, but I'll be more specific. So what are the main services which we require from site supervision company? They need to conduct the supervision in accordance with the technical and construction code requirements. They need to permanently supervise the construction works, quality, schedule, budget, timelines, and bill of quantities. To be more specific, they need to test materials, systems, installations, equipment, or skim through the technical spec sheets, data sheets, and certificates if available. They need to deliver the documentation, which I'll show you the listing, and they need to provide technical and legal advice where needed throughout the implementation phase. So going to the roles and responsibilities of the site supervision body. First of all, as already my colleagues mentioned, they need to introduce the construction company with the required quality of materials, installations, and construction works which you need to have at the specific site prior to the launch of the construction or implementation phase. And later on, the site supervision should elaborate a detailed implementation plan with set timelines and present it to the all project stakeholders involved in the project, which will be the company itself and the project team, municipality, and the beneficiary institute, which would be school, kindergarten, hospital, depends on your project. Then the company or the person should monitor the construction works to ensure the quality which is needed, which is required, and also compliance with the rules, with the norms and regulations, and the approved technical design. And also should monitor the construction works quantity, what is going to be implemented, what is accepted, what is going to be invoiced, and what is going to be paid afterwards. The company should, this has been said already, the company should document the process in detail, photo, video shooting, in addition to the progress reports, and should permanently examine all the construction works and qualities, as well as the certificates of the installations, equipment, goods, and supplies. This should be done at least, or in average, once a week. Most importantly, the company should identify the defects, document the defects, and report the defects to the project team and all the beneficiaries, and all the construction works which the construction firm has done should be assessed prior to the completion of the works and services. And supporting documentation should be provided to the project team and the municipality. And also, again, in previous session, my colleague noted about the works which are not visible. which are being covered, which are, we can label it as hidden works. Those would be pipelines, distributing pipes, as you would see, cabling, and other kind of works, tasks, which are not visible anymore. These should be approved by the site supervisor or the company. Again, having 3 signatures on this under the declaration note would be enough. And site supervisor should assist the support team if there is going to be any quality control visits, which most of the time is required and is conducted by the support team experts. Site supervisor needs to generate weekly reports or weekly progress reports, which has a format which I'll show you in details in coming slides. These reports should be sent to municipality and the project team, and again, support team. I've put it as not later than a 7-day period, but this can be followed by the Monday, each Monday, let's say. Weekly reports should include the following. First of all, the general progress of the implementation works, which is being done at the construction site, what has been done, and what are the planned activities for the upcoming week, what have been the defects or deficiencies which have been spotted by the site supervisor in the works which the construction firm has carried out, what kind of materials have been delivered to the site, and quantities and volumes. What were the main issues which have been faced in the construction site within the construction works, and have there been any solutions or recommendations which have been provided, unforeseen or supplementary works which have been faced, and changes or modifications to the drawings or the technical design which has been done. What does the site supervisor do when identifies a defect? First of all, the site supervisor should immediately inform the project team and the municipality and the construction firm or the contractor at the same time about the defects which have been spotted, and then should prepare a report including what is the problem in full detail, photos and documentations, and also recommendations on how to solve the defect or how to address the defect. This should be followed by just 1 day after the site visit, because the defects might change their typology afterwards. The report shall be sent formally or by email to the construction company, project team, municipality, and the support team. In any case, if the construction firm does not follow the technical design or the norms and requirements, or doesn't improve the identified defects and deficiencies within agreed timeframes, the works should be suspended. This is a must for us. What happens to unforeseen construction works and tasks or volumes? In case of running into unforeseen works or services, it's the duty of site supervision body to assess the necessity of carrying out these kind of works and estimate the costs associated with these kind of works or services. In case these unforeseen works will modify the project design, the technical design which we have in hand, or change the volumes. For example, in Armenia, the percentage of this variation is around 25%. If it exceeds 25%, then a new technical design should be carried out. You need to redo the whole drawings. In any case, site supervisor should modify the design accordingly while talking and working with the technical design company, which has done and stamped the technical design. Again, related to the unforeseen works, site supervisor should provide all the information, necessary information to the project team and also the municipality on recommended solutions and what will be the estimated costs for carrying out the unforeseen works. And also should support the project team and also the support team in making proper decisions while having the volumes and modified bill of quantities. What should we expect to receive from the site supervisor? First of all, minutes of each site visit, because these identify a lot of issues regarding the progress of the construction works. And then on a bigger picture, a monthly progress report should be provided to the project team and the municipality until the end of the construction or implementation phase. As said before, we need proofs and picture documentation of the construction works during the whole progress, and also the completion report should be submitted by the site supervisor prior to the final acceptance act of the construction works, with a detailed list of construction defects and what has been done, plus if there are any unforeseen works. How do we select the site supervisor? These are the minimum requirements which we suggest to have on paper while tendering out the services for site supervisor. To have at least 3 similar projects with same nature, same or similar scope and volume within the recent 5 years. They should have all legal requirements and all certificates and licenses according to the national norms for carrying out such services. They should have a proven knowledge in carrying out these kind of works, which is associated with the type of works which you have. For example, if you're looking at thermal refurbishment, they should have a proven knowledge and this kind of specific work. As we are putting the relying on the benchmarks from Western European standards, which we discussed about the U values or R values earlier this morning. We are also need to have a certain degree of understanding of those standards and technologies or supplies or materials for that specific work, which needs to be provided by the site supervisor. Ability to produce high quality documents and reports, because this is the key deliverable by this site supervisor body. And experience in providing consultancy services and specific experience with donor-funded projects. Okay, weekly progress reports, which should be submitted by the site supervisor. They need to, I've put together 8 main sections which need to be filled and passed on to the project team and the support team and the municipality if the municipality is in the group of the beneficiaries. First of all is the general data, data of the report, what the report refers to regarding in terms of the period, number of the report, if it's the first or third or fifth one, minutes, who has done it. This will be the physical name and the contacts. Data regarding the project, which most of these data comes from the contract signed between the project and the technical supervision supervisor body. Start date of the project, end date, number of days, which has been foreseen for the implementation of the works according to the contract. Percentage of the days for implementation already elapsed. What is going to be the completion date according to the progress. If there is going to be any extension required according to the progress which they have at this certain period. Name of the construction company, name of the project manager of the construction company. This should be verified all the time because I've been in the projects where the project manager or the head engineer has been switched 2 or 3 times. And a contact person for the contracting authority. These are more numerical data. These relate to the progress of the construction works. For example, if you're looking at roof insulation, what has been the quantity, what has been done, what is still in progress, or what is left. And here you can look at quantities with or volumes, square meters, or if you're looking at instrument or equipment, again, pieces, quantities, and etc. This section or segment relates to the delays or deficiencies, issues, problems which have been spotted, as well as the variations from the initial design or additional or unforeseen costs. What has been done about it? Have there been any solutions to address the defects? What is the current status? What needs to be done? What has been solved already? And upcoming stage, what should be done, and who should carry out the recommended solutions? Defects and deficiencies which have been spotted by the site supervisor during the implementation phase. These will be in subsections according to the scope of work which you have. For example, windows, doors, I don't know, roof structure, roof cover, roof cladding, basement, and etc. What are the deficiencies or defects which have been identified, and what are the solutions to address those defects? These should be provided here. And also you can include quantities or volumes. This relates to the materials which have been transported or delivered to the site. Again, we're looking at the quantity, and also we need to double check the quality of the materials, and if there are certain requirements in terms of certificates or spec sheets for those specific system or supplies. Like if you're looking at heating systems, then you need to fill out the inspection part, which needs to highlight the compliance of the system with the system which is mentioned in the technical design documentation. This part relates to unforeseen or additional works which need to be done, which have already been agreed with construction firm and the technical design company and the project team. You need to provide a description of what should be done in addition to what has been in place according to the technical design, and you should note about the quantities and the estimates. And if there is a need to change any documentation, you need to send us or send the project team the modified design. For example, if you have, I don't know, 50 sheets number 12 and 14 have been modified, these need to show up here. And the last part, which is relating to the payment and contractual issues, if we are going to have any delays in the payment, if payments are foreseen to be delivered to subcontractors, if there are any changes required to enforce in the contract or change orders or variance orders, and if we have any issues with the documentation, if we are missing anything, if there are any mismatches in the invoices or orders. So as a wrap-up on what we can recommend for having a good service to be carried out by the site supervision services, here are the main bullets. Get a very good experienced team and have them on site during the implementation phase so they can execute your project effectively. Keep your construction project on a timely manner and follow your timelines and schedules. Try to minimize which will minimize the technical risks and prevent construction errors throughout your continuous supervision. Comply with relevant building regulations, quality standards, norm and code requirements. Ensure that all your works are in line with the technical documentation and the construction permissions required for specific works. Issue and complete all documents, certificates, and declarations correctly, because you need to have all those in place. And most importantly, the performance of supervisors should be measured, audited, and reviewed. Supervisors must be supervised, meaning that you need to always have an eye on them and measure their works. If there are any issues, if there are any questions, if you want to brainstorm on your experiences, I'm glad to hear. Yeah.
I have a question. Are site super So I have the following question. Site supervision is just a certain percentage, 1% or something from the construction installation. How can we stimulate or motivate site supervision? Who is controlling site supervisor? For example, if the works are performed not in a good way, how can we punish or stimulate site supervisors to work in a diligent and proper way?
First of all, the issue with uh, money or the salary. Yes, in Armenia we also have this percentage of the whole construction budget, which sets it as a minimum. In Armenia you can exceed that number, but that's the minimum number which you need to pay to the technical supervision company. So you can exceed that number. Regarding a timely manner, and I'm sorry, regarding the quality of the services which is being carried out by the by the supervision company, first of all, you need to be more specific when you're hiring your contract to do your homework before contracting the site supervision company. You need to assess their previous experience, list of staff, what kind of licenses do they have, are their licenses, how do you call it, are their licenses in line with the current legislation. For example, in Armenia, we changed or modified the legislation a bit. So unfortunately, there are still companies who don't have the new version of the licenses and are still working with the old ones, which was much easier to gain and practice. And unfortunately, we cannot do anything for at the moment because we have two kind of certificates and both are in place. Both have the same power. So those issues might be some problem for you. For example, the new versions, you cannot get them easily. You need to have solid experience and you need to have a capable staff. And each staff member should have relevant certificates by their own. So the company should have a certificate or a license which is provided to the company according to the number of certificates and staff that they have. What more? It would be good to have a project team member with a technical background to visit the site once or twice a week and assess the site supervisor's functions. And also you can get a lot of feedback from the progress reports if they are filled in a good way, if they are filled in a framed approach, then you would get an understanding of how the site supervisor is doing its work. You need to be careful whom you choose, and you need to always keep an eye on this body.
Thank you very much. If I have understood you correctly, the project team is supervising the functions of site supervisor, right?
Yeah. Not according to the legislation, but yeah. You are just double checking the whole work, the whole progress. And if you don't have the capacity, if the project team doesn't have the capacity, you can always outsource a third-party consultant or an expert to have a further overlook. You have contingency budget for doing such supplementary supervision works.
Regarding the previous question, I will also recommend that we can include some penalties in terms and conditions of the contract with the site supervisor. And as Andrea stated, supervising the supervisor is one of the best solutions that we can come up with. On the other hand, we've been very focused on quality aspects of a project, but usually we neglect the health and safety and environment aspects of a project. So I believe that we also need to include some control points regarding the HSE, health and safety and environment. So when we are talking about the unforeseen activities or deficiencies in our reports, so we also need to include some sections regarding the incidents or near misses or any deviations in terms of waste management, because these are what we are going to face with in very near future. And also we need to include this in the checklist and as control points, so that our site supervisor will not miss to control those points. We usually talk about responsibilities of site supervisors, but we neglect the authorities of the supervisor, because there shall be a formulation that in which case the supervisor has the authority to stop the process, whether it's a quality issue or it's an environmental issue or it's a health and safety issue. We faced lots of problems, not within the scope of EU-funded projects, but in other projects like in mining industry, in energy industry, when the site supervisor does not have the authority to just click the alarm button and to click the stop button. And that's when we have incidents and we have lots of other problems. So I will be glad to have such a formulation in our procedures. Merci.
Yeah, very good point. Actually, what we have here has been shaped according to our projects. This is not enough. This is what we require in addition to what each country's legislation requires from these kind of services. Health and safety plans are, at least in Armenia and Russia, I know that those are included in the contract format of the site supervision companies. And also there are there are even more aspects like the environmental plan and etc., disposal, toxic chemical materials and etc. Those are always in place, at least for Armenia and Russia, and I'm sure in Ukraine those should be in place as well. But yeah, we can maybe add more fruit on the health and safety part. But again, this has been shaped to meet our requirements in terms of quality/quantity.